Let us introduce this module by discussing about India and its diversity. India is an incomprehensible plural nation loaded with diversities of religions, stations, dialects, tribes and societies. A wide range of cultural and linguistic groups is concentrated in certain territorial segments to which they are attached emotionally and historically. During the colonial rule, the administration was interested in economic exploitation of the country and not in its development. It empowered different divisions based upon religion, region, caste and language. They did not pursue any plan or strategy for a balanced development of the country. This resulted in regional imbalances and group identities. Subsequently, the independent India saw rise of evils like regionalism, language and separatism. Further, we shall read about the background, causes and nature of these phenomena and possible ways out to check them. All these are related and interconnected. A region is a domain the inhabitants of which have a passionate attachment to it because of characteristics of religion, language, usage, customs and socio-economic political stages of development, common historical traditions and a common way of living. Any one or more of these and most important all widely prevalent sentiments of togetherness strengthen the bond. This territory can coincide with the boundaries of a state, parts of a state or even with more than one state. A sense of discrimination or competition on economic, political or cultural grounds, desire for justice or favor gives rise to regionalism. Depending on reasons and related nature, regionalism can be demonstrated in many ways like demand for autonomy or powers for state, creation of new state, protection of language or culture of the region or separation from the country. Regional disparities or imbalances mean wide differences in per capita income, literacy rates, availability of health and education services and levels of industrialization between different regions. As mentioned earlier, these regions may be either states or regions within a state. In this regard, in India, there are enormous imbalances on various accounts. The exploitative nature of British colonial rule either created or accentuated regional disparities. The planning in independent India has also not been able to remove these disparities. After studying this module, you shall be able to know about the current scenario of the imbalances in India, the reasons why these imbalances still exist, the increasing trend of the regional disparity in India, and the creation of new states can be attributed to regional imbalances, the reason behind the demand for the creation of new states. Let us now look into the history and background. The British colonial administration was primarily interested in selling their products in Indian markets and taking away raw materials from here. In some cases, they were also interested in establishing some industries to invest their surplus capital and use cheap labor. Keeping these needs in view, they introduced the zamindari system in some regions to get maximum land revenue. In some regions, they favored peasant proprietary system and improvement of agriculture to create markets for their products. In agriculture, they came up with significant variations both in production relations and level of production in different states and regions. The method of urbanization was based on the strategy of exporting primary products and importing finished goods. This laid the foundation for the emergence of port towns as the major centers of urban industrial activities. Therefore, the growth of trade and commerce in colonial India meant the creation of jobs and educational opportunities at coastal centers like Bombay, Calcutta and Madras and some princely state capitals. Having these changes, there emerged consumer industries in these enclaves and hence to the development of a merchant capitalist class. Such development gave these regions a head start over others with the vast tracts of agriculture had lost their traditional handicrafts and other small scale non-agricultural activities in view of competition from the high technology associated with the modern processes of industrialization. Another factor in the uneven regional development was the growth of the education system. The British imperialists had linked India to Europe through trade relations and the coastal areas, especially around the ports of Bombay, Calcutta and Madras. To man the establishments in these areas, modern education was introduced. An educated professional class, primarily lower paid government and commercial clerks, grew up in these areas. These regions additionally held up an elite group of lawyers and other professionals who were involved on both sides of the independence movement. On the eve of independence, interstate and inter-district disparities were quite sharp and widening. There were differences in the levels of per capita income and consumption, literacy, medical and health facilities, natural resources, population growth, infrastructure development and employment opportunities. The independent India hence was burdened with the task of removing these disparities. Now, let us discuss the key indicators of regional imbalances in India. First of all, let us talk about state per capita income. The most significant indicator of regional imbalance or disparity among the different states of India is the difference in per capita state income. Among the 33 states in India, Maharashtra has the highest state GDP, that is gross domestic product, of about 233 million, while Lakshadweep has the smallest GDP of 60 million. Tamil Nadu is at the second position and India's most populated state, Uttar Pradesh, ranks third. According to a report in 2014, Maharashtra contributes about 14% to India's gross domestic product. Secondly, let us talk about interstate disparities in agricultural and industrial development. In spite of various attempts for industrialization, agriculture continues to be the most important economic activity from the point of view of output and employment in most of the states in India. Within the agricultural sector, because of emphasis on instant increase in production, interstate disparities in per capita agriculture production have been on constant increase. the impact green revolution has been confined to relatively small areas. Interstate disparities in agricultural and industrial development in India are majorly in the states like Punjab, Haryana and parts of Uttar Pradesh. Yet, Punjab and Haryana have recorded high rate of productivity due to its high proportion of irrigated area and higher level of fertilizer use. Thirdly, let us talk about population below poverty line. Percentage of population living below the poverty line in different states is another important indicator of regional imbalance. While some states like Goa, Maharashtra have about 5% of population living below the poverty line, states like Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Bihar have 29, 31 and 33% of population living below the poverty line. With all India average of 21.6% in 2013, there were 11 states whose percentage of population lying below the poverty line exceeded the all India average. Next, let us talk about spatial distribution of industries. The country as a whole has achieved industrial development at a fair rate since independence, but the spatial distribution of such industries and their development between various states remained almost uneven. Let us talk about unemployment rates. Another important indicator of regional imbalance is unemployment rates in different states. While Kerala has the highest unemployment rate, Gujarat and Rajasthan have the lowest unemployment rates. Higher unemployment within the states indicate slow development and wastage of human resources. As far as intrastate imbalances are concerned, coexistence of comparatively developed and economically depressed states and even regions within each state leads to regional imbalance. Regional disparities are the result of incomplete task of nation building. These reflect basically the insufficiencies of the development strategy followed since independence and its failure to correct the distortions brought about by the colonial rule. Of late, these tensions have acquired alarming proportions and are threatening to strike at the very base of the nation state. Let us now talk about literacy rate. Literacy rate is another indicator of regional imbalances. Today, while Kerala has the highest literacy rate of 93%, Bihar has the lowest rate of about 73% only. The gap of 20 percentage points increases the regional imbalance through evils like more unemployment among the illiterate, which increases poverty and hinders development. Next, we shall discuss the reasons for imbalances in India. Curbing disparities have now become a task of the planning authorities. It is hindering growth and prosperity. However, to cure a problem, we first need to identify the root cause of the problem. Some of the reasons for imbalances are, first of all, historical factors. As discussed earlier also, regional imbalance in India started with the British rule. British industrialists mostly concentrated their activities in two states, West Bengal and Maharashtra, and more particularly to their metropolitan cities like Kolkata, Mumbai and Chennai that had easy access to ports. The concentration of industries in these areas led to development of these cities while others remained underdeveloped. This put them at an edge over others from the very beginning. Next is geographical factors. Regionalism in Indian polity has deprived the inaccessible and mountain dominated regions of the country from the various amenities of life which are enjoyed by the people of the plain regions. Geographically, the forward group of states fall in the western and southern parts of the country. The groups of backward states are in the eastern and northern part of the country. Another remarkable geographical feature is that while 6 of the 8 states except Haryana and Punjab in the first group have vast sea coasts, only 2 out of the 7 in the second group, which are Orissa and West Bengal, are shoreline. These relatively forward states have taken the benefit of their geographical position and international trade has benefited them. While the forward group of states account for about 42% of the national population, the backward group accounts for as much as 52% of the population of the country. In terms of natural resources including mineral wealth, water resources and quality of soil, the latter has certain edge over the former but refrain from enjoying the benefits. Next, let us discuss about the failure of planning mechanism. Although balanced growth has been accepted as one of the major objectives of economic planning in India, since the second plan onwards, it did not make such headway in achieving this object. On the other hand, the backward states like Bihar, Assam, Orissa, Uttar Pradesh and Rajasthan have been receiving the smallest allocation of per capita plan outlay in almost all the plans. Due to such divergent trend, imbalance between the different states in India has been uninterruptedly widening in spite of framing achievement of regional balance as one of the important objectives of economic planning in the country. Next, let us talk about infrastructure. Another reason for imbalance is lack of infrastructure in many states and cities. Cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai and Hyderabad are regions which have basic infrastructure such as power, water, roads and airports and ports. The better infrastructure has led to the concentration of Indian as well as foreign investment in these cities only. These cities have now become the commercial hub that has further increased the income and growth of these cities. However, there are many cities that lack basic infrastructure due to which they have attracted low investment that have further hindered the progressivity of these cities. Next, let us discuss financial sector's focus on market oriented areas. Financial sector reforms have led to a booming stock market that has helped large firms finance their expansion easily. However, small and medium enterprises, which are important engine of growth and productivity, have not been able to access finance in rural areas as they are too small to be interested to equity markets or FDI. Next, let us discuss the political factors which are responsible for regional imbalances. Another important factor responsible for regional disparities is the political instability prevailing in backward regions of the country. Political instability in the form of unstable government, extremist violence, law and order problems, etc. have been obstructing regional flow of investment into the backward regions beside states. Next, let us discuss the policy actions. Indian leaders recognize the need to eradicate and remove the policies set. The Constitution of India has made it mandatory for the government at the center to appoint a finance commission once at least in every 5 years. It was set to examine the problems arising out of the gaps between the needs for expenditure and the availability of revenue and other such matters. Accordingly, the balanced regional development had become the declared goal of the central government and of its two principal agents, namely the Planning Commission and the Finance Commission. One of the objectives of planning was to restore the balance between various areas and regions. However, these institutions were to work within overall socio-economic infrastructure of the country and the developing political process. As it has already been discussed that because of the strategic position of the ruling class and adopted model of development right from the beginning by them, the developments have been drifting away from the desired goals. Moreover, to begin with, planning was primarily restricted to the national level. Hardly any attention was paid to the problem of regional disparities, and the few measures that were taken were adopted to deal with specific problems faced by certain areas having natural calamities. Therefore, the problem of regional development in a national context did not get adequate attention of the policy makers. Some of the already developed regions enjoyed the privilege to develop further at the cost of the backward regions that continued to stagnate. The third five-year plan devoted some attention to the problem of regional disparities. Some efforts were made to identify the backward regions. Fourth plan onwards, planners have increasingly emphasized this objective. Deliberate policy measures are being taken to improve the levels of living of the people in regions which are identified as backward. However, in practice, in spite of the increasing awareness of these aspects, very little has been achieved. Even though India's Planning Commission has identified industrially backward regions, no such attempt has yet been made in regard to the regions that can be deemed to be backward from the point of view of overall economic development. Actually, the main focus of the regional policy during the Indian plans has been on the dispersal of industry among the different regions of India. In spite of various attempts for industrialization, agriculture continues to be the most important economic activity from the point of view of output and employment in most of the states in India. And within the agriculture sector, because of the emphasis on immediate increase in production, interstate disparities in per capita agriculture production have been on the increase. It is a well-known fact that in agricultural development policy, the Green Revolution and its impact has been confined to relatively small areas. Thus, the disparities in socio-economic conditions of the people have been increasing both within and between regions of the country. Now, moving on to discuss the imbalances and regionalism. Existence and continuation of regional inequalities both among states and within states create the feeling of neglect, deprivation and of discrimination. In a country that is multi-ethnic and religious, with groups concentrated in states or regions, these disparities also become cause of social conflicts leading to political and administrative problems. In any case, regional imbalances are a major cause of regionalism in India in many ways. The movement for creation of separate states like Jharkhand area of Bihar and West Bengal, Uttaranchal and Chhattisgarh in Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh were because of underdevelopment of these regions in these states and a feeling of deprivation and exploitation among people. These areas were constituted as separate states in 2001. Similar movements are going on in Telangana region of Andhra Pradesh, Vidarbha region of Maharashtra and Darjeeling region of West Bengal. Apart from sense of deprivation in the neglected states or regions, there also are grievances due to sectoral imbalances in states like lack of industrial development along with agricultural development. Due to this, on one hand, there are pockets of developed and underdeveloped areas, particularly in rural areas of developed states. On the other hand, this leads to sectoral conflicts. Both these are encouraging regionalism in developed states. For example, in areas where green revolution was introduced and has been successful, the new rich farmer class has become economically and politically important. They are now interested in perpetuating the concessions and facilities which were given to them. In spite of agriculture having become quite profitable, they want subsidies to continue and income not to be taxed. These rich farmers in such states provide major social basis of regional parties. Let us now summarize the discussion that we had about the regional imbalances. Regional imbalance is a major economic issue in India. Had all the regions of the country reaped the benefit of economic growth equally, the demand for new states and other regional conflicts might have been non-existent here. Hence, a big thrust for inclusive growth has remained a cherished goal of our policy planners. Some recommendations or remedies for reduction of interstate disparities are: first of all, it is the duty of the government to establish various committees who should monitor the administration of institutions. Secondly, government should make finance easily available in rural areas. Thirdly, government should make focus on less irrigated states as compared to more irrigated states to make balance of agriculture everywhere. Fourthly, industries should be located in less developed states like Bihar, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. Regional imbalance poses stress and threat to the goal of inclusive growth and reduction of poverty. An important cause of regional tensions which lead to popular agitation and at times militant activities is such regional disparities in economic and social development that exist within some of the states. Indeed, creation of some of the states in the past was in the wake of popular agitation based on perceived neglect of certain backward regions in some of the bigger states. There is a very strong case for strengthening governance in backward areas. Towards this end, it is necessary that local bodies in backward areas are empowered and strengthened.